And 1 cent of every bushel of corn that's sold in the state of Iowa goes to support the Iowa Corn Promotion Board, which goes towards research, education, promotion for like exports.
Got clutter piling up? FM Junket in Carson, Iowa is your hometown cleanup crew. Fast hauling, fair prices, and now easy dumpster rentals for DIY cleanouts. Your single items to full-on messes, FM Junket gets it done. Call today and breathe a little easier. Prom season is coming fast, and Inspire Couture in Glenwood has the dress that feels like you. From sleek and modern to bold and unforgettable, every gown is handpicked to help you shine. Find your perfect fit, feel confident, and make prom night one to remember. Only at Inspire Couture. In Mills County and beyond, home is about people. And Ruby Realty is proud to be part of this community. Whether it's residential, commercial, their team brings local knowledge and genuine care to every step. Ruby Realty is rooted right here and serving neighbors just like you. Hi, welcome to Mills County Roots. I'm Carlene Hall. Just happened to be in Fremont County today. It's getting more and more interesting how the lines are blurred between counties in southwest Iowa. So you may be finding that we're going all over southwest Iowa in the future. But today I have the pleasure of being here at the Randolph Fire Station, and I am with Julius Schaaf. Hi, Julius.
Hello, Carlene.
Welcome. Thank you for sitting with me today.
Oh, thank you for giving me a chance to talk about corn. That's been central to my thoughts since, I'm a fourth generation farmer, and I've got a cousin that's gone back and looked at our family history way back into Germany, and they were farmers for as far back as you can see. So it was pretty much hopeless that I was going to be a farmer.
Well, yeah.
And I farm on the Mills County, Fremont County line. I've actually have farmland in Fremont and Mills County.
Okay. So we are true to our roots here today anyway.
Yeah.
Even though we're sitting here on a gorgeous day.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous day.
Yeah, I'm sure it's giving spring fever to all the farmers in the area, thinking about, better make sure the stuff's ready to go, because I noticed the flowers are all coming up. And, I mean, after that rain, it really, stuff got interesting about growing.
I haven't checked on my lilies yet. Usually that greenery pops up. And
Yeah.
Do you have any daffodils popping out yet that you've seen?
I haven't looked at them. I just noticed some tulips.
Okay.
Right by the steps.
They'll come right up through the snow.
Oh yeah. They're always the first ones up.
Yeah. Well, fun. Yeah, we're anxious for spring, as Bambi says, getting a little bit Twitter-pated for the good weather, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty easy winter, though.
Yeah. Well, we are continuing our series with Ag Week today. And listen, you can't talk about agriculture in southwest Iowa without visiting with Julius Schaaf. As he said, fourth generation farmer. And Julius has served on a number of boards for a number of organizations, and even founded an organization. You want to talk a little bit about those boards and things that you've done?
Sure. Be glad to. So in 2004, Daryl McAlexander from Sydney approached me about running for the board of the Iowa Corn Promotion Board. And at first I turned him down, and I thought, this would probably be something that I'd really enjoy doing. And so I ran for the board that year and actually got on, and that was the start of a long relationship with Iowa and Iowa Corn, going, well, even up to present. I still work with them a little bit. And so if Iowa were a country, instead of just a state, we would be the fourth largest corn producer in the world by country.
Wow.
So the United States is first, China is second, Brazil is third, Iowa would be fourth.
Oh my goodness.
So that's how much corn, and 1 cent of every bushel of corn that's sold in the state of Iowa goes to support the Iowa Corn Promotion Board, which goes towards research, it goes towards education, it goes towards promotion for like exports and promotion around the world for U.S. grain. So your checkoff dollars that you pay, you see that every time you get a statement back from your grain company. It shows what money's gone to the checkoff. But I guarantee you that there's a lot of hard work being done by that checkoff, and it has benefited you. So of course, Iowa, one of the biggest wins that we had right away when I got on in 2004, it wasn't because of me, it was because of people that worked before I got there, but I was able to be in position when it really came in was ethanol. And so basically what got ethanol started was that, they'd been trying to work that into the fuel in Iowa for a long time. It used to be, I don't know, it wasn't ethanol, but it had another name. But anyway, so in about 2004, 2005, the oil companies were getting in trouble with the oxygenate that they were using in gasoline, because gasoline has to have an oxygenate in it to keep it from pinging.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you're an older person, you remember how vehicles always pinged and stuff. And the way they got rid of that was through MTBE. That was made from petroleum, and it was really carcinogenic, and it was showing up in all the water supplies around the United States. You can imagine.
Yeah.
And so they were about to get sued, oil companies, big time, by all these municipalities and everything that had found this MTBE in their water systems. And so the government stepped in and said, okay, we're not going to use MTBE as an oxygen anymore. We're going to use ethanol. And we can use a 10% blend of ethanol, and that eliminates the MTBE in the gasoline. And so that's how ethanol was allowed to get a foothold into the market, petroleum market, because of saving the oil companies from these lawsuits that were coming from everywhere. So that, that kept them out of financial trouble.
And the timing of all that is very interesting. That the lawsuits coming and the research on the ethanol and developing the ethanol from corn, and I wonder what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was the problem recognized and science was trying to find an alternative, or was the problem that was discovered forcing the alternative?
Yeah, I'd say those two things existed about the same time.
Okay.
It's just one of those things where timing was perfect for farmers, and we had this product already developed, and and all of a sudden you saw these ethanol plants just explode across, especially in Iowa. I think there's 44 ethanol plants in the state of Iowa now, and every farmer knows what that has done for our markets. I mean, if we didn't have ethanol as a market for our corn, we would just be swimming in it. I mean,
good for the farm economy, the ag economy, and also good for the tax base.
Yeah, and it's good for the environment. I mean,
yes,
ethanol is so safe for the environment. I mean, you can have a major spill of ethanol, and it's like you spilling your vodka. I mean, it just goes into the water and it dissipates, and it's not toxic to anything, and so it's really been good for the environment. It makes fuel burn cleaner. It's just better all the way around.
What an education you're giving me. I appreciate that, because I didn't know that, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers didn't know that background either. So thank you for
that's fine, and
spelling that out.
And so when I first got on the board with Iowa Corn, we were worried about what we were going to do with all the distilled grains, because when you process corn into alcohol, 1/3 of the corn is starch, and that's what you make the ethanol out of. So you convert the starch to a sugar, you ferment it, it becomes alcohol. It's just like
Oh, it's like
like every
still.
yeah. It's a recipe they developed in Kentucky, and we're still using it. We just went to a bigger scale.
Okay.
And so then a
But don't
third.
drink it.
Yeah. Well, you can if it's not denatured.
Okay.
The only reason that it's even think about it being toxic, before it leaves the ethanol plant, they have to blend it with 10% gasoline. And that all has to do with government taxes
Oh,
on
sure.
pure alcohol. And so,
Revenuers.
yeah, it's basically to keep people from tapping into these shipments of alcohol going across the country. And you know, because before they denature it with gasoline, it's absolutely the same thing that comes in a
Okay.
bottle.
Yeah.
So, and some plants, like the one in down here in Missouri, I'm trying to think, it's just across the line down by Rockport. They actually make their ethanol into drinking alcohol. So they, you know, they were one of the first plants went in, and their system was really set up to make very pure alcohol, where some of these others are not quite that pure, but they qualified to make drinking alcohol, so they do. But
Interesting.
so then a third of it is starch, which goes to make ethanol. A third of it is protein, which is the distilled dried grains, and a third of it is CO2.
Oh, okay.
So the CO2 in the past was just released into the atmosphere. You know, and so they have these giant fermenter tanks sitting around fermenting the sugar into alcohol, and the CO2 just escaped. The distilled dried grains are basically the solid material that's left, and they dry that or they feed it wet. But it's turned out to be a huge boom for livestock feeding all over the world.
Oh, wow.
And so there was a lot of cattle growers that were worried when ethanol first came in. I know Mills County is a strong cattle growing county. They were worried that, you know, ethanol was going to drive the price of corn up and make it more difficult for them to feed animals. But it turned out, you know, the distilled dried grain, which was a pure source of protein, was ideal for animal feeding. And I mean, cattle feeders all over instantly got onto that. One thing about ethanol and the DDGs, cattle won't founder on DDGs like they can corn. So you can, if you're not careful when you're feeding cattle, you can cause them to founder, which is, you know, a huge problem to their weight gain and everything. But with distilled dried grains in the process, it almost eliminates that.
Wow.
So it's one headache that's taken off of it. And cattle, you can mix corn stalks with DDGs, and they will eat every last bit.
Is that right?
I mean, it's just like candy to
fiber
them.
and
They love it.
Yeah.
They love it. So, and it's gone as a dried product. I mean, Mexico imports it by the train loads. The unit train load cars of DDGs go to Mexico and feed cattle down there, feed hogs, feed chickens, dairy.
Yeah.
And aquaculture is a new huge growing market.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's shipped all over the world because the world has lots of they don't have enough protein. That's the main thing. The world is short of protein. They've got the carbohydrates, but they don't have the protein. And so they don't have to ship the starch over there. They can just bring the protein over, which is what they desperately need anyway. And so, I mean, we go into a country, which is my second job, was chairman of the U.S. Grains Council in 2012, 2013, and we do export promotion. And so we would go into these countries and we'd do feeding demonstrations on these distilled dried grains coming out of our ethanol plants. I mean, before we'd leave the meeting, they'd say, "How much can I get and when can you get it here?"
Wow.
I mean, it was like a miracle all over, especially Asia. They just, they needed that protein, and this was a cheap way for them to get it, and very safe and very available.
So corn now, with this advent of ethanol and the distilled dried grains and the other uses, corn has produced several profit centers now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
And that, the scientists that work behind the scenes to figure this out and divide those portions and find the right place for them to work and to work well. That's an amazing process and a testament to modern technology.
Yeah. And so now, now they're focusing on the carbon dioxide that's released.
Okay.
And Sire has actually been collecting theirs and selling it for industrial uses. There are a lot of industrial uses for carbon dioxide. So they have a plant up there right next to their ethanol plant that compresses this. They send it out on trucks and they use it.
Okay.
They use it for coolant in some big storage buildings, and they use it for CO2 for a lot of things.
Wow.
But now, I know you've heard about carbon sequestration and the pipelines that they're trying to put through Iowa. I mean, there's a lot of controversy about that, and I understand that. And as a landowner, I certainly understand, giving people the access to come across your farm and what that means. But in Nebraska, they had a gas pipeline, natural gas pipeline that came from Wyoming into Nebraska that they were no longer using. It came clear across Nebraska. And so Nebraska plants have been able to hook onto this pipeline that already existed. They're pumping their carbon dioxide that they're capturing now to Wyoming, and they're sequestering it in old oil wells in Wyoming. And so they didn't have to buy up all the easements and everything. That already been done.
Existed, sure.
And actually Sire now has got permission to attach to that. So they're going to bore under the Missouri River attached to the Nebraska system and send their CO2 to Wyoming to be sequestered.
Well, you know what? I like that idea because that's their ground. If they have easement under the river and they can do it that way. The part that I'm going to get opinionated here for just a minute, Julius.
That's okay.
I think I feel easements. Sometimes they're necessary and they need to be in agreement between two landowners if there's, or something, or entities if there's easements. But to force eminent domain on a landowner to put a pipeline in, let's find a way to pay the landowner for that. Let's do one of those 99-year leases, or let's think about how the person who works every day of their life to pay for that ground can make some money off of that if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, these are for-profit pipelines, and they need to share that profit with the landowners. And I think that's moving that direction really fast. It was already sort of in that direction. I mean, they have to pay you for disturbing your land and over so many years.
Okay.
But that's I understand why people have issues with that. It's not going across any of my land. I would welcome it because what sequestering carbon does for the ethanol industry is it makes that a very low carbon fuel. And even if you don't believe in climate change and the Paris Climate Agreement that these other countries signed, as well as the U.S. during Biden's era, to lower carbon scores on all these things. Now, the United States has stepped back from that, but there's lots of countries all over the world, especially in Asia, that have signed on to that, that still believe in that. And so having ethanol be a super low carbon fuel and a very reasonably priced one, those markets are going to explode for ethanol. So we're going to be exporting low carbon ethanol to lots of countries around that are still signed on to this Paris Climate Accord because it allows them a huge credit for having a low carbon fuel for their over-the-road vehicles.
Oh, okay.
So all of a sudden, by sequestering this carbon from these ethanol plants, it opens up export markets that are just going to explode. They're going to explode. Now, Green Plains, I think they have 2 plants in Nebraska that are already hooked onto this pipeline, and so they're low carbon now. And I mean, it absolutely is the lowest carbon fuel in the world, and also the cheapest, the over-the-road fuel in the world. So, you know, you've got
Yeah.
all the things going for it that are going to really
Sounds like
explode
there's
this
a lot of
market.
benefits to it.
A lot of
Yeah.
benefits.
Well, it sounds like all of these advances with corn are having a very positive impact on the economy. And it does sound like from what you're saying that these connecting to these pipelines could also have a very positive effect, like
Yeah.
Sire connecting under the river to Nebraska
Yeah.
is not really going against anyone or anyone's land, or it's
Yeah,
just it's
the
a
people they have to cross have already signed easements and agreed to it, so they've got that all
yeah,
covered. They're not in court fighting that or
yeah,
anything.
that's good.
Eastern Iowa ethanol plants are actually going over into Illinois. There's a formation over there that they're sequestering carbon deep in Illinois, so they don't have to come this way. They go over to Illinois.
Oh,
So
okay.
some of those are already connected, and most Illinois plants are, I think, sequestering carbon. So it's, you know, there's going to be lots of ethanol available. But what that means to farmers in Fremont and in Mills County and Fremont County and Potawatomi, everybody that takes grain to Sire, I know probably 90% of them do, if they're not feeding it all themselves. They're going to be able to bid more for corn. So, and if you're using conservation practices on your farm, if you're using cover crop, no-till, uh, uh, precision application of fertilizer and nitrogen stabilization, all those kind of things, you're going to get credit for those because not only they're low carbon, but then if they can prove that people are sequestering carbon on their farms with all these conservation measures, they can give you a boost in your bid then if you can prove all that. So between the sequestering of the carbon from the ethanol that's made plus the factors that are going on your farm, it's going to make that bid at Sire much more desirable and much more competitive than any other source you could possibly have. So it's going to be a huge advantage to Mills County farmers that are close, and
Yeah,
you know,
I
it's just
see.
going to be a
Sure.
natural market for them.
Sure. And how is the word getting out about this? Is Sire having dinners and inviting farmers and
They
speaking
will.
on this?
They already have to a certain
Okay,
extent,
okay.
especially on the conservation measures. I know they were paying a bonus. I'm not sure whether it happened this year. I know last year they paid a bonus for conservation
Okay.
measures. If you had cover crop and you had no-till, and
Now, is that exclusively a Sire offer for?
that was exclusively to Sire.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but everybody will eventually fall into that.
Okay.
So even, you know, if you just haul it to Heartland or anybody that like that, they're going to be willing to pay bonuses too for those kind of things because that's what the world's demanding. When I talk about corn exports to other countries, I've been in China 7 different times to talk to them
Wow.
about corn exports. I've been in 40 different countries to talk about corn
Oh,
exports.
Julius, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, everywhere I went, they just couldn't believe our technology and how we're, you know, how we're using that technology to expand our production. I mean, we get so much better at it all the time. We always fluctuate with drowning ourselves in corn to being maybe,
Oh.
you know, it's just, we're on that line. But the reality is, world corn stocks are at a 26-year low. So if you look at the whole amount of corn in the world and how much stocks are available after usage, we're at a 26-year low. And 70% of those excess stocks China owns. So those are not even available to anybody
Wow.
else. So
Okay.
that's China's food security that they've got locked away.
Okay.
So 70% of the excess corn in the world is locked away in China, and the rest of it's available to the market. Well, that's a very small part, and we're at 26-year lows.
Wow.
So even though, the United States had a 17 billion bushel crop last year, I mean, that just blows my mind. I remember when we thought 15 billion might be possible someday, and here we blew by that last year by 2 billion bushels.
Wow.
So,
What do you attribute that to?
well, a lot of it is genetics
Okay.
and just people using better planters and better seed, better fertility, more specific fertility to certain parts of the farm. Some parts of your farm you could, no matter how much fertilizer you put on them, that
Yeah.
soil is not going to produce. So you learn to apply it where you're going to get the most return, and
Yeah.
people are getting better at that.
Okay.
And you have to if you're going to be competitive in
Sure.
today's market. You've got to use all these niche things to improve your yield.
So they're
But
probably doing a lot of grid soil testing
yeah,
now and stuff like
exactly,
that.
exactly, and
So,
that adds up, and the more people you get doing that, the better they get at it. And but I still think a big part of it is hybrids. I mean, the last 4 years we've been so dry here in Southwest Iowa, and I just thought, as a farmer at farmed for 43 years, I thought, there was no way we can raise a big crop this year. We're just too dry.
Yeah.
There's no subsoil moisture or anything, but we got just enough rain, and these hybrids are able to take that moisture and use it to the maximum. And the nutrients they get, they're more efficient at using those things. Their root systems are better.
Wow. Yeah.
They're better at converting solar energy, and I mean, it all adds up to just yields that I never imagined that were even possible. When I started farming, if you got 150 bushel yield, you were just, that was
Killing it.
unbelievable. Now, if you don't get 200,
Yeah.
you're disappointed.
Right,
It's
right.
just, it's insane how that's.
I wonder what will happen when we get a good wet year with that genetic technology. I bet that'll just
I
be
think last year was about as close as we've come to having just a perfect year.
Yeah,
We didn't have a lot of rain, but we had enough.
yeah.
As I said, it's almost like irrigation. It just comes at the right moment and
Yeah.
just the right amount. But yeah, the potential. I mean, the seed companies will tell you the potential is for every acre to make 300 bushel.
My goodness.
Yeah, and that's 300 to 500. That's the potential if everything's perfect, but never. It's not. We had this huge southern rust thing come in late last year, and
Okay.
it killed the corn early. That's what kept us from, having.
Yeah.
I mean, the 1st of August, I thought we were going to have 300 bushel
Shorten the
corn.
growth season
Yeah,
on the
it
ear.
killed the plants early, even though we sprayed them with fungicide. But
Yeah.
so. The next part of my journey after the Grains Council and promoting corn around the world was the officers of the U.S. Grains Council and National Corn Growers went to Brazil and Argentina to talk to the corn growers down there and see what kind of issues they were having and see what the competitors were doing. We just basically wanted to talk to them and see what they're doing. Well, we came back and decided they have the same issues about export, which is, biotechnology pushback and the way we farm. They were pushing back at that on the chemical protections, the products that we use on our farms. And so we came home and we decided let's see if we can't form a group of corn growers from Brazil, Argentina, and the U.S. Because those 3 countries export 75% of the corn in the world. And we're all using the same technology. We're using exactly, not maybe the same hybrids, but from the same companies with the same breeding and so we formed MAISAL, the International Maize Alliance, and the growers from all 3 countries. And we traveled together. We've been to Europe and talked to regulators over there because Europe is one of the big pushbacks on biotechnology. They don't allow their growers to use biotechnology at all.
Okay.
But when you go to Asia, we went to China and South Korea and Vietnam, and we talked to them. We said, we can keep raising corn and selling you corn if we have access to this technology. But if you took that away from us, we wouldn't be able to meet your demand. You know, that's why our production is doing so well, is because we have this technology. So we have to protect that. And since then, China has adopted biotechnology. They wouldn't allow their soldiers and their military people to eat biotech grain at all
Okay.
because they thought it made them sterile.
Oh, gee.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and now
Okay.
China has their latest 5-year rule is that they're adopting biotechnology to increase their grain production. I mean, they've just seen what we've done and they just
Sure.
go, you can't ignore that.
I wonder where that idea came from because I think because Iowa has the second highest rate of cancer per capita in the nation, I think health. I think health is an issue, and a lot of times we turn back in and look at the farm operations and see, you know, what are the chemicals, what are the. So I'm wondering where, like in China, where they got the idea that those that biotechnology was causing sterility. That's
Well,
just a.
that was a Greenpeace talking point forever.
Okay.
I mean, I went to Germany in the early 2000s and I was in downtown Munich and they rolled up with this semi with a trailer on behind it, had crossbones and skulls on it and everything.
Yeah.
And I thought, what in the world is this? And
Yeah.
they were protesting biotechnology, telling
Okay.
about how terrible it was going to be for human health. Billions of animals and humans have eaten biotech products in the world.
No, I don't think we can
left.
avoid it. I mean, it just
But
is.
there's not been one single case that's been traced back to the
Okay.
biotechnology.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that some of the products that we're using for pesticides and insecticides might not be an issue.
Right.
But if we can genetic engineer some of these crops that they resist their own pests, and right now there's technology on sprayers that only spray the weeds that exist instead of just broadcasting
Okay.
everything. You can drive across your field. That technology's here and it's available.
Wow.
And it'll spray just the weeds. You can cut back your chemical usage by 80 to 90% on those applications and have just as good of coverage, you know, and eliminate just as many weeds as you would with spraying all that excess chemical. So I think if conservation groups really want to make strides in reducing the chemical use in the farm industry, they need to look at this technology. These sprayers cost millions.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
and the technology, a lot of them charge for the technology. So farmers look at it and go, I can't afford to do that.
Sure.
But these conservation groups that want to do something can do it. They have the money behind them. They have, you know, they have billions of dollars, some of them they have access to.
Yeah.
This would be a very simple thing that they could do, that they could get these all over the country and get people trained to run them and you know.
Well, I love that you are solution based. And since we sat down here and started talking, everything you've said has been solution based. We can talk about problems all day and all night, but you are very solution based and working with people all over the world to develop these solutions. So I appreciate that. I think everyone can appreciate that.
Well, we can do better. We always can do better. We all know that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they try to use a stick, and sometimes they use a carrot. And farmers get along a lot better with carrots than they use sticks when they're trying to get something done. So
Sure.
if they provide the incentives, which could be higher prices for grain that you sell to Sire or Green Plains or Heartland or whoever you're going to sell it to, you know, if you can relate those kind of environmental issues to increase profits on your farm, I mean, it's pretty hard not to get on board with that. So You can't just go around with the big stick and say, I'm gonna club you if you don't do this.
Yeah,
That,
right.
that doesn't go over very well.
Right.
But if you put that carrot out there and say, this is what, what's going to happen if you do these things, and people go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
I think that the general consensus nationwide is that farmers are simple. Well, guess what? Farmers are far from simple. We've been sitting here talking about technology and science, and we haven't even scratched the surface on that a farmer has to know how to weld, how to build, mechanics, and be in conjunction with weather patterns and ready to pivot when you need to pivot. And I think that farmers are some of the highest level thinkers. Not only do you have to market your grain, follow the markets, market timely, market smart, hedge your bets. All this is going on. Your CEOs of your farm running your farms at the same time, the laborer, the technologist. There's just so much to farming, and I don't think that we say enough publicly how much farmers need to know to get it done and to be profitable.
Yeah. It's, I always said marketing was the hardest part of farming all the years I farmed, because a big share of farmers market in the lower 50% of the market range. And if you could just increase that by, 10, 15% and move your marketing skills up that much, I mean, it makes a tremendous difference in your bottom line. So I've turned my farming operation over to my son, Shane Schaaf, and my grandson, Sidney Schaaf. And Sidney's 23 years old now, and he planted all the soybeans last spring, and he just loved it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and
that's
I
wonderful.
couldn't be more proud of both
Yep.
of them.
So fourth, fifth, sixth generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
he's been hauling grain all winter, and he loves it. And
Wow.
so that's pretty exciting for an old farmer like me to see, see that get passed on. So I want farming to be profitable. I want it to be profitable outside of government handouts. I know we're getting this big check from the government now, over the disruption of soybeans, basically, and corn around the world. Even though corn exports have hit a record this year, we're exporting more corn than we ever have out of the United States this year. Wow. So it's not a total disaster.
Good. Well, I didn't know it's not piled up and covered up somewhere.
Yeah, soybeans is another thing. We, when you took China out of the market, they were buying, a lot of soybeans out of the U.S. And so they're not back up to anywhere near those levels. And Brazil is filling in the basis. I mean,
and then we're buying the tofu back from them, right?
Not me, personally. I'm sure somebody is.
Oh my goodness. So, well, let's talk a little bit more about Mazal for a minute. Okay. Tell me about the projection of Mazal and what's going on with it now and where you see it going. And
so when we started Mazal, we went to our governments in each country, and we told them what we were thinking about doing. And we just got wholehearted support from all of our governments. So that's a big help. Then when we go to another country, we meet with the ag attaches from all those countries, and we sit them down together and we say, okay, guys, this is what we're working for, and we want you guys to be on the same page too. Okay. And so these ag attaches get an education from us farmers out here in Brazil and Argentina and the U.S. about what they need to be talking about to look for our new markets. And So the presidency rotates every year. I was the president for the first 2 years because we were just trying to get rolling and trying to generate our funding. And so a lot of it is agribusiness that funds us. It's also checkoffs in the United States, and also Brazilian government helps fund it. Argentine government helps fund it. And so after the first 2 years, and the presidency is rotated each year to a different member country. And Ukraine came to us right away. This is long before the war, and they actually wanted to join Maisel. They were a pretty big exporter of corn, and they claimed they weren't using biotechnology, but they were. I mean, they just signed off their exports as being non-genetic, you know.
You can do that?
Being organic, you know. But yeah, oh, of course you can, if you get your government to go along with that, you know.
Wow.
And if China was buying most of it at that time, and if they don't check, then, you know, they're good. But so Ukraine didn't really qualify to join in because their government was still, your government has to be supportive of your mission too, or you just really can't move ahead.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going against your government's, you know, what they've got written. So I can't tell you how many marvelous people I've met through the years through Maisel. I mean, just really super leaders in their own countries, you know, and the ag part of it. I remember we had a farmer from Argentina. We were sitting in a meeting in Europe, and I think it was in Germany, and they said, well, we were trying to tell them you can have biotechnology and non-GMO simultaneously. You know, you got to have buffer zones between them so you're not cross-pollinating and stuff. But we tell them we do that here in the United States. We do that. And this farmer from Argentina got up. He says, I raise non-GMO seed for the European market, and I have GM crops on my farm. So, you know, he found a way to keep those separated on his own farm and not be a contaminated issue. And so they can coexist. And I mean, it was just, you know, he put his own business at risk by saying that, but he just felt so strongly about pushing back on what they were saying that wasn't true.
Right. Wow.
And so, I mean, these guys, very smart, very tech savvy. I mean, and just, you know, have been great to work with. And so we, you know, when we go somewhere and we speak as these three countries that are exporting 75% of the corn in the world, people pay attention and they listen, because we said, you know, we want to continue to do this, but we have to have access, and you have to allow us to have access to your markets for our increasing production.
Sure. Well, I bet you can be pretty persuasive too,
Well,
can't you?
I tell you, so Pam Johnson was on that board with me. She was the president of the National Corn Growers the same time I was chairman of the U.S. Grains Council. We both came from Iowa Corn.
Okay.
She farms in Floyd, Iowa. And she was very persuasive. They all called her sister, and you know, this is our sister, and they love Pam. And so, yeah, Pam really, but you know, the thing that I was very fair, because when we first started this, there was a lot of U.S.-centric information built into all of our talking points and everything. And I said, look, we're gonna get the Brazilian side and the Argentine side, and we're gonna build that into this too.
Yeah.
And everybody's gonna get equal footing on this thing. It's not gonna be U.S.-centric. And it was tough to get, because a lot of times the U.S. Grains Council was writing the talking points and stuff for it, and so you know, those guys are all used to using the U.S. talking points, and so I pushed to get everybody included. And when we first started traveling, the Argentines, their economy was struggling. Their federal government didn't have much funds to support them. So they were going to have to fly separately. They were going to have to stay in different
Oh.
hotels when we went to China or something out on the outskirts of town that weren't so expensive.
Oh my.
And
Yeah.
I said, no,
Yeah.
we are going to pick up the slack for them. And
That's
we're going to
great.
we're putting this money in the kitty. It's going to be used for everybody.
Yeah.
We're not going to segregate. You know, we're not going to have the Argentine guys staying in a third-rate
Yeah, that's
place on the
great.
edge of town and not being able to communicate with them in the evening and stuff. And so I earned their respect because I stood up for them, you know, and at first it was kind of leaning towards the U.S. centric, you know, but we needed them worse than they needed us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's very respectful.
yeah,
Very, very respectful.
and that's one thing I'd say about when I've promoted corn around the world. I've been to, you know, Indonesia, and I've been to India, and I've been Vietnam and Cambodia, and you know, people love their families everywhere.
Yeah.
And they want their families to do better. And their religion, I might not understand everything about it. They don't understand everything about mine, but I always talked, whenever I could talk to them off to the side and stuff, you know, I'm not going to pick on you because of your religion. I'm not going to say my religion is better than yours, or as long as you don't tell me that I can't have my beliefs, I won't tell you you can't have your beliefs.
There you go.
That's where you cross the line when you say you can't be a Christian anymore. You've got to, you know, we're going to kill the infidels. When they start going that way, that's when I stop supporting them. But I guarantee you, you know, Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists, and you know, I've talked to all of them, and we all have the same. We all have the same wishes at the base of it. We want our families to do well. We love our families.
I see your point. However, my belief is here we were founded on Christian beliefs in the United States, and well, let's talk just a brief overview. We've known each other for a lot of years, and go back a lot of years. I've sang for you at the Grains Council dinner
I appreciated that so much. Everybody
I
loved
appreciated it. Out at SAC.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful there under the airplanes, and it was.
The people that came there from all the United States for that meeting just thought that was the best meeting they ever had.
It was beautiful, and what a beautiful setting that was. It was just my honor to even be able to be in there. Huge American flag back there behind me on the. Oh my goodness, that was one of the highlights. One of the highlights of any of the entertaining that I've done. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying that, and I'm so thankful that you agreed to do that.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
You and George.
George and
I don't know who else. I think maybe it was just the two of you.
Maybe it was just the two of us at that, but yeah, that was fun. And George is a farmer.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's good stuff. And so you live in Randolph. You grew up in the area.
I lived here all my life. I live 2 miles away from the home where I grew up, and my daughter and her family live in the house in the old homestead.
Oh, nice.
And they got hit by this tornado last April really bad, so they're still in the process. It hit every farm we had, actually.
Oh gosh.
So we're still in the process of cleaning up from that, but we didn't get it as bad as you go on east by Imogene and on over into Essex. Some of those places got hit a lot harder than we did. We were kind of, but it was, my daughter was shell-shocked for a long time. They were in the basement, huddled with their kids and their pets and their lizards and
those lizards would have been on their own at my house.
They got an unlicensed zoo at their house. That's what I always say. But
how fun!
But they, you know, broke almost every window out of their house.
That must have been horrific.
Oh my God!
The sound, the pressure. Can you imagine?
But that's Southwest Iowa. The neighbors just poured in there with tarps and closed up all those windows that night. Came back the next day with plywood and boarded one. They never left home. They never had to leave their house, and people helped them clean up the glass
I didn't
inside. And
realize that had hit
they
them
had so
like that.
so many animals there. They couldn't hardly just leave them. So
Sure.
um,
Oh my goodness.
the
They like their
neighbors
pets.
and my relatives. I mean, I farmed with my relatives all my life,
Yeah.
and
Good people.
yeah, they're
Real good people.
yeah, they are. You know, we've just not families don't always get along like
Yeah,
that, and we've
yeah,
been very fortunate.
exactly.
We think the world of our families,
Yeah, that's wonderful.
and
Yeah, you
yeah.
guys do a lot of fun stuff together
Oh
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of fun stuff.
yeah.
So
Well, that's good. Well, Julius, thank you for meeting with me today and for visiting with me, and thank you for all of the knowledge you bring.
I think we cover a lot of
Yeah,
ground,
yeah.
and you know, you want how it relates back to our farmers. You know,
Right.
anytime that you can get corn disappearance anywhere in the United States, it benefits all of us that farm, because it, you know, the price of every bushel that leaves the United States gets figured back into every bushel that we sell. So we're, you know, Iowa Corn and their work is, and U.S. Grains Council. I mean, they keep pushing and looking for new uses, and how to use nitrogen better, and
Are we developing trucks that use ethanol? But that's 100 bushel an acre corn's a lot of trips to town.
so at the Commodity Classic this year at San Antonio, John Deere brought a tractor out that runs on 95% ethanol
I'll be
instead of diesel
There you
fuel.
go.
And that technology is here. They're running trucks, semis on that right now. They're trying to get them to allow them to run into California. California has such strict emission things,
EPA, yeah.
and this ethanol trucks that run on almost 100% ethanol. I mean, they are so clean burning.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. The aviation fuel, we're going to be able to get into aviation fuel with
Wow.
ethanol and biodiesel.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And the government is really pushing for that, and they're really helping us do that. And
We're going to give
also,
Texas and Oklahoma a run for their money.
yeah, so, and also marine fuel.
Wow.
So, I mean, if we can capture just you know, 10 or 15% of those markets I talked
Yeah.
about, and if farmers can get their equipment to run on ethanol, I mean, we don't have to worry. We're going to have a market for our corn, and we're going to anyway. That's what I said. We're at 29-year lows on world amount of corn. So we're headed the right direction. We're using it up. We're working through it. So there's hope.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Julius.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you,
Thank you.
Carlene.
Thank you for joining us on Mills County Roots. That was a lot of information, and I'm so grateful to have had this time here today with Julius, and we will see you again tomorrow. Got clutter piling up? FM Junket in Carson, Iowa is your hometown cleanup crew. Fast hauling, fair prices, and now easy dumpster rentals for DIY cleanouts. Your single items to full-on messes, FM Junket gets it done. Call today and breathe a little easier. Prom season is coming fast, and Inspire Couture in Glenwood has the dress that feels like you. From sleek and modern to bold and unforgettable, every gown is handpicked to help you shine. Find your perfect fit, feel confident, and make prom night one to remember. Only at Inspire Couture. In Mills County and beyond, home is about people. And Ruby Realty is proud to be part of this community. Whether it's residential, commercial, their team brings local knowledge and genuine care to every step. Ruby Realty is rooted right here and serving neighbors just like you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Mills County Historical Society and Museum, I'd like to go ahead and thank Dave Carl, who's going to be the presenter of our second speaking event, March 8th of 2026. And we're just delighted that we're able to go ahead and present this series for the public. And We're planning on trying to keep this series going throughout the year with all sorts of different topics of interest for Mills County and our historical history of what we are, what we have been, and what we're going to be. So without any other ado, I'd like to go ahead and present Dave Carl, our today's speaker. And thank you very much, Dave,
Thank you.
for your presentation.
You are welcome. Okay, today what I'm going to talk about is a little bit of history of Pacific Junction in relationship to the railroads. And then we're going to talk about the rebuilding, reconstruction of the Methodist Church in Pacific Junction, Iowa into a model railroad display, because we want people to come and see us. Introduction of myself: I'm the Secretary Treasurer. Been doing that since 2016 with the Carter Lake Model Railroad Club. I'm a National Model Railroad Association member. I am also certified as a Operation Lifesaver presenter. I don't do railroad safety, I do railroad crossing safety. And we are supported by both Union Pacific and BNSF. And I'm also a retired Master Sergeant out of the United States Air Force after 21 years. So there's the building that we are in. And notice that we do have the sign that says future home of the Model Railroad Club, but embedded in the building is the Methodist Church. And we were in the construction phase because right back here is one of the big dumpsters, one of 7 that we used to gut the place. So we're a 501c3. We run on memberships and donations. Our hours: Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 3. Thursdays, we're usually there from noon to 4. And we do have an open house on the 3rd Sunday of every month from noon to 4. And we got our trains running. We're not building anything, but we could have possibly up to 12 trains running at one time. And if you drive past and there's cars at the building, knock on the door. We'll entertain anybody. Okay, Pacific Junction was established by the railroad in 1871 by the Burlington and Missouri Railroad. And some of these names are, I don't know if they're going to be familiar to you or not. When I set this up, I didn't know anything about them. It was the eastern end of the Nebraska, Burlington, and Missouri River. There was a station there for the Kansas City, Council Bluffs, and St. Joe Railroad, and they were consolidated into what is now BNSF. They had some rough times during the Depression and stuff, and we get down to the Burlington strike of 1888. 700 people used to live in that town, and I think the population now, because of the flood, is about 60, I think. The historical structures in Pacific Junction: the high school graduated its last class in 1986. It's going to be a haunted house now. And the Methodist Church, and that was built in 1911. And that's our current home. In the most recent 2021, there was a Burlington empty coal train ran into a freight train. You can see the 2 locomotives down at the bottom of the picture. It was about 2 or 3 miles south of Pacific Junction. Okay, that's kind of the history. I'm pointing to the Methodist Church. I don't know what the date of the photo is, but there's the Methodist Church. You can see the junction, and that's looking west towards Nebraska. Okay, a little history of the Model Railroad Club. It started out as the Carter Lake Model Railroad Youth Club in 2012 by Lee Hudson, who's since deceased. I became the secretary of that club in 2015. It's kind of like church. Once you get a job, you can't get out of it. We took over the Rock Island Depot from another club, and then in 2019, we left the Rock Island Depot. We found this place in 2022. Given a 1-year lease, they wanted to see what we were going to do with it. And we started to the destruction of the interior, the demo. In August, we started building bench work for an HO model railroad. For the scale, they call it 1/87th, which is 1 inch equals 7 1/4 feet. So we're talking an engine that's anywhere from here to my big boy, which is out here. What we want to do is we want to teach youth skills needed to build and operate a model railroad. And those skills include carpentry, model building, electrical, scenery, people skills, and Operation Lifesaver. And once we get rid of our big power tools, then we will start working on Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, church groups, and start bringing, and hopefully maybe we can have 1 day a month for these groups to come in. Okay, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. Of course, that's our church. This is what it looked like inside. That's the fellowship hall. Back behind there is the kitchen. That is the church. Those two steps going up, that's the altar area. And if you notice how the floor is collapsing. That's what a bathroom looked like after there were 7 feet of water in during the flood of 2019. That got all taken out. Here we're doing some demo. There were some good walls in there, lath and plaster. There was some not so good walls. I don't know what schedule they built that wall on. On the back of the building is a lean-to. This was the furnace room. We had to shore up some of the ceiling rafters there. That was the furnace room again. That's the altar or the stage area. We started at that end. We think that was a possible forge that back in the early 1900s might have been a blacksmith shop. That was a cast steel, and we just left it there. The joist hangers for the old church were cast, and they were cemented into the foundation. They used to be a 2x12, and the 2x12s that we took out of there still had the saw marks on it. And supposedly they had gone in and got rid of any black mold if there had been any. But this place was rotted. Those pillars were nail kegs that were flipped upside down, filled with bricks, and put concrete in there. We used that for the basis of our center floor joists. Now that's the furnace room. And those are the pillars. We shimmed them. built 2x6 laminated beams. That was the basis of our center going down there to support our 20-foot 2x10s. That's building the kitchen area where you see the Wayne standing. That was the kitchen area. We took out that wall. Finished floor. We're working towards what we called the big white box. We chalk lined so we could get the walls straight because the concrete walls weaved. So we built 20-foot sections on the floor, lifted them up. We had a gentleman who was a big contributor to us. He hung all the installation for us while we were doing other things. There goes our first sheet of 5/8 4x10 sheetrock. That's our furnace room that's in the back. We replaced the doors. There is our big white box. That's just the west side of the church. We redid the floor, the walls, the ceiling. We did all the wiring. We got ductwork donated to us. We did have some connections, but I started out with $4,000 in our kitty when we took the building over. I had a little over $4,000 when we got done, and because of donations, we put in over $35,000 into this building. And if it wasn't for the donations, we wouldn't be there. Did the lights, the duct work. That furnace room is now a workshop. Our two furnace units, we got a little bit of a discount on them. The furnace air conditioning cost us $7,500. And it's 97% efficient. The restrooms, you remember the photo of that? They got relocated. The one on the right is, probably this wide because of the room that we had back there. But I'm in a wheelchair over there. I can get in there and manipulate my wheelchair around. The other one, it's like a bedroom. It's huge. I like this photo because all of the wood trim around the doors, the baseboards, I did that with a chop saw. I painted it all, nailed it down, cut the joints and everything from a wheelchair. Yeah, I can't stand on my leg a whole lot, especially can't get down, so I did everything from a wheelchair. So, volunteer hours, this was weekends and holidays, and those are the numbers. And that's probably a handful of about eight people. The design phase, this was the sketch that I was delivered. I have a program that'll do train layouts with any type of track, so I got that. And after everybody had their, threw in their 3 cents worth, and then, I give them back change and everything. This is what we ended up building. Now this is a concept. They all say it's a suggestion, because once we got the bench work up, the things changed. But that's okay. But that layout consumes 2,700 square feet of the church. Up and down is, each side is 20 feet across. The length is 40 feet. And then we got a meeting area, the furnace room, and that. So we started August of 24. That's the bench work. We started at the front door and we were coming down this side. And what we did on that was, you'll notice that there's an overhang. We built the layout on the first level at tabletop height so that kids and people in wheelchairs could run it. So the building, they got the ramps in the front. So the train layout's ADA. That is probably the biggest attraction when people come in. It's 8 foot in diameter, 5.5 turns, rises 24 inches, and it's a 1.4% grade. So when our trains go into it, there's very little degradation of the speed. And in that, anybody care to guess how many sheets of plywood it took to build that? Gentleman came up with a program. We set a chop saw at the angle, and he'd cut the end off, move the board down, change the saw, cut another angle, and just did that on the lengths. And then on the floor, we put a section together, spliced it between the sections, put the metal work in there, and then we'd pick it up, flip it over, hand it to the mayor of Pacific Junction, who was standing in the center of it. He lined up the threaded rods and set the thing down. This bridge it came in 3 sections and it was 3D printed. So your 3D printing is taking over and doing a lot of the stuff. That's in that area that I built in the middle of the area. That's Hooper, Nebraska. But underneath, you can see coming out on the end, that's the main line. The mid-level is a switching layout. So you can go in, switch cars, and there's 3 separate places that you can do that. The upper level is single track and double track. So you have to play with the passing and et cetera. And there's the town that I built, which is Hooper, Nebraska. It's not much. The population was about 800, and it was Chicago Northwestern was the railroad coming up out of Fremont, headed to North Fork. In some places, they call that the old cowboy line. We have a 13-stall roundhouse and a 130-foot scale turntable. That will hold the Big Boy, which is the largest steam engine in the world. That's our yard. On the upper level, there's a gentleman who's building a lumber mill. This is on the lower level going around a corner. That was pretty much done, showing building mountains, roads, pink foam. That's our friend. It allows us to do anything to shape. The one problem that we had was the end of the wall ends about right where the black is at. That's the end of the center wall. We had 2 options. Go around the end of it, which would have gotten us into the doorway, or knock holes and go through the wall. Somebody said, let's go through the wall, so we did. So we got a tunnel here, and there's a tunnel up on top, which you'll see later. Some of the roads and detailing that we're doing. This area is a cement plant. And the track that goes that way and comes in this way and goes across, we can turn a train around there. There's the passenger yard while we were doing the construction. That's the service yard that's at the end that we were at. And that's some of the trains sitting there in the passenger depot. The town of Bygone is with the buildings. He hasn't started it yet, but wrong side of the track is on the other side. This is 108 coal cars. And this is 108 coal cars with two engines on the front, engine in the middle. And if you look just over the top of the engine, you can see there's two levels of coal cars. When he ran that, that was impressive. This is our staging yard. We can build up, store trains. And then we got a lower, middle, and upper. You can see how it goes around in the east area. The town of Benco. And there's our upper tunnel going through the wall. An industry at the north end of the passenger yard. Campground. It doesn't show it, but the fire in the fire pit is flickering. So it looks like a fire. And the guy who built it, he's so proud that his pickup doesn't have any rear wheels. So when we have a scavenger hunt, when we get stuff set up, there's going to be things you need to go look at. I told him that'll be one of them. Kids love the scavengers hunts. Little forestry shack. We use 6 cases of 3-foot long flex track for a total of 2,250 feet. 35 right-hand switches, 77 left-hand switches. The helix is with the double track, 180-foot concrete sleepers, which are the ties, 2 double crossovers, and 3,800 spikes that are about that long. And they got a head on about the size of a pinhead. And those what we fastened the track down. There's our footage on each level. We have 4 of these drawers. This is the electronics that run the block system and the signals. I can go back, I can get a train, turn on the computer. I can run a train on the top and keep it up on the top. I can run one train in one direction on the bottom layer, and I can run then another one that's just running by itself, and I can chase it and control another train. So I can run 4 trains on this layout by myself, and the signals will tell me if I'm going to crash or not. That's the CTC control panel. That's designed by our president, and he's having a blast doing that. But he can sit in the back room, and with radios, he can control the whole layout as far as signals, put you in sidings, pass whatever. There's our signal bridge for the 3 tracks there. More signals. More signals. That's by our yard. That's how close the tracks are. I know it's pretty quick, but questions? When? Yeah, they might be there yet. But come over any Saturday or Sunday between 10 and 3.